For the sake of my wife Emily Carter's career as a rising superstar, I took on the full-time role of stay-at-home dad and unofficial househusband. I cooked, cleaned, raised our daughter Lily, and supported Emily from the shadows. I even gave up my career as a composer, something the public never knew about me. I figured this peaceful life of mine, with a wife and child, would last forever. Turns out I was wrong. One day, Emily agreed to appear on a celebrity livestream show called Stars at Home, which aired our daily family life to the entire internet. And that's when the chaos started. My sweet little Lily, the bright star of my heart, was caught on camera smashing open a walnut using one of my old Phoenix Talent trophies, the one I won anonymously back in the day. She did it right in front of 8 billion netizens without a shred of hesitation. Not only did she expose my identity as a hidden legend in the music industry, but she also ignited an internet storm that no one could have seen coming. Right after that, her mischievous best friend Max Thompson chimed in, "Whoa, is that your dad's trophy?" And Lily, puffing out her cheeks with pride, held up a second Wannabe Best Composer award and cracked another walnut open with dramatic flair. "Isn't that enough?" she beamed, victorious. Max was genuinely impressed. "Lily, you're a genius." And just like that, those two tiny tornadoes turned the living room into a walnut demolition derby using my music awards. Meanwhile, viewers in the live stream chat lost their minds. Wait a sec, did she just say that's her dad's trophy? If that's a gigolo, then I'm a pancake. She's using a legendary award to bust walnuts. Her dad must be loaded. Lily, of course, kept showing off. "My dad cooks gourmet meals, has a private chef team, and hires A-list singers to sing lullabies for me. He's got a house full of trophies. My dad is a Superman." Meanwhile, Max, not to be outdone, fired back with, "Well, my dad says your dad's just a househusband who mooches off your mom." Lily stomped her foot. "Don't you dare insult my daddy. My dad writes award-winning songs, sings like a pro, and has way more talent than your dad." She grabbed Max's hand and dragged him upstairs, bursting into my studio. The cameras followed. As soon as they stepped inside, the world saw an entire wall covered in shining music trophies and shelves filled with stacks of handwritten song manuscripts. Max's eyes went wide. "Are all of these your dad's?" Lily stood tall, practically glowing. "Yup. My dad's amazing." She opened up a few certificates, each of them proudly displaying the name Ethan Walker. But Max squinted and muttered, "Wait a second. These are from Anderson Scott. My dad always says Anderson's a legend. There's no way these were written by your dad." Lily crossed her arms, pouting. "That's because my dad is Anderson Scott." "Liar." Max scoffed. "If that's true, I'll do a handstand while I have diarrhea. Promise?" Lily ran over, pointed at the row of awards, and opened up one after another. The certificates matched. The live stream viewers lost it. "What? Ethan Walker is Anderson Scott? I'm gonna faint. That lazy stay-at-home dad is actually the fairy tale genius. I want to apologize to every stay-at-home dad I've ever judged." While the internet combusted, I had no idea any of this was happening. I was downstairs holding our baby daughter Caitlin, humming to myself, when Emily, fresh from watching a drama, bounced over and kissed me on the cheek. "Thank you for taking care of everything, babe," she whispered sweetly. I kissed her back without realizing we were still broadcasting live to millions of people. Fans in the chat collectively screamed. "Is that the Emily Carter? Why is she acting like such a doting wife? Someone help, I can't take this PDA anymore." Meanwhile, I calmly put on an apron and whipped up dinner like I always do. 2 pots, 10 minutes, and voila, an entire gourmet meal on the table. The livestream chat was practically in tears. "Who said Ethan Walker can't do anything?" I'm drooling through the screen. Emily Carter is living the dream. Lily and Max ran downstairs with a bowl full of cracked walnut pieces. "Dad, here, eat some," Lily said proudly as she fed me a bite. "They're good for your brain." Emily blinked. "Wait, how did you guys crack these? Didn't our nutcracker break?" Lily blinked innocently. They cracked themselves." The audience was cackling. That kid really just lied with sparkles in her eyes. Adorable traitor. We forgive her. Then the doorbell rang. I casually walked over and opened it, and standing there were David Grant from Grant Studios and his assistant. Behind them, coming out of the elevator, were Olivia Hayes from Aurora Records, Brian Ross from Galaxy Media, and George Sullivan from Starlight Music. I blinked in confusion. Hi. Mr. Walker, it's truly you," David said, grabbing my hand with stars in his eyes. "I've been looking for you for years." My confusion deepened. "Why are you calling me that?" "Because you're Anderson Scott," he blurted. Olivia, Brian, and George rushed over too, all calling me by name like we were old friends. I thought I was being punked. My first instinct? They must have come to poach Emily. Her contract was up in 2 days, and 4 top-tier execs showing up unannounced could only mean one thing: a bidding war. Emily showed up right then, stunned but composed, and greeted them politely. "Gentlemen, did you all schedule this together?" "We're actually here for Mr. Walker," David clarified, shooting me a hopeful glance. I still didn't get it. "Oh, you want to talk to my wife?" "Sure. I'll take Lily upstairs and give you privacy." The live stream chat exploded. Does this man seriously still not know what's going on? Someone tell Dad Ethan that he's famous now. Like, worldwide famous. Upstairs, Lily clung to me excitedly while the 4 CEOs whipped out contracts downstairs. Emily was speechless when she saw the numbers: $58 million, $60 million, $80 million, and finally a jaw-dropping $100 million guaranteed per year. "Are you all insane?" she gasped. "That's way too much." She flipped to the name on the contract: Ethan Walker, Chief Creative Composer. Her hand trembled. "Wait, you're here for my husband?" She took a deep breath, then rushed upstairs. "Honey, could you maybe come down and talk to them yourself? They're here for you, not me." I looked up from playing with Lily and smiled. "Whatever you want, babe. We can sign with any company you're comfortable with. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters." Emily nearly teared up on the spot. "You're always like this," she whispered. "Putting me first. Supporting me, quietly, no matter what." She kissed my cheek and said, "I love you, Ethan." "I love you too," I replied without hesitation. "Mommy, I love you too." Lily chimed in, raising her hand like a little soldier. Emily laughed and hugged us both. Downstairs, she looked the execs dead in the eye and said, "We're staying with Summit Records." The other 3 bosses looked crushed, but respected the decision. Before leaving, they left their offers on the table just in case. And once the dust settled, Emily handed me the final contract to sign. "Guaranteed annual salary, $100 million, she said. I blinked. "Didn't it used to be $20 million? Since when?" She stared at me. "Wait, did no one ever talk to you about the original 20 mil? I laughed. "Nope. Is this really my contract?" She raised an eyebrow. "It says your name on it. Ethan Walker. AKA Anderson Scott. AKA the fairy tale guy. Did you seriously not know the whole world knows who you are now?" I scratched my head, finally checking my phone. Thousands of notifications. Top trending topics: Cece's fairy tale dad, Anderson Scott revealed, composer dad cracks walnuts with trophy. I almost dropped my phone. So this is how I get exposed. I muttered. Emily couldn't stop laughing. Blame your daughter. She cracked more than walnuts today. And that's how my quiet life as a gigolo dad officially exploded online, and I had no clue it had only just begun. The morning after all hell broke loose online thanks to Lily's walnut-smashing performance and my accidental identity leak, everything seemed strangely peaceful in our house. Emily and I were on the couch sipping coffee while Lily sprawled on the rug, humming as she arranged her school backpack. "Daddy, today is my first official day at kindergarten," she said with wide eyes full of expectation. "I want to be the best student ever." I smiled at her determination and helped tie her little sneakers, not knowing that my daughter was about to launch a storytelling revolution. When we arrived at Westwood Academy, the kindergarten classroom was buzzing with the sound of sniffles and wailing toddlers clinging to their parents like koalas. Meanwhile, Lily stepped in like she was hosting an award show. She waved goodbye to Emily and me like a confident little queen and marched straight to her seat. The moment the teachers turned their backs to calm a crying kid, Lily leaned over to Max and whispered, "I brought something magical." Max's eyes lit up. "Candy?" "Yes," she nodded proudly, "but also something better, stories." The live stream was still running thanks to the school's new, interactive learning showcase program, which meant every parent and a few million uninvited netizens were tuned in. A few sharp-eyed viewers noticed Lily pulling out a handful of colorful candies and slipping them to the kids around her. "No more crying, okay? If you cry again, no candy," she warned one little girl who immediately went silent and unwrapped her bribe with shaky fingers. The chat exploded. "Lily is bribing toddlers and it's working. She's a born leader, I swear. I would stop crying for a grape Jolly Rancher too, honestly." Lily continued distributing sweets like some pint-sized godfather until the class of 24 had been reduced to blissful silence. The teachers were stunned. One of them bent down and asked, "Lily, how did you do that?" She grinned and said, "Kids are easy to please just like adults, but smaller." And then, she cleared her throat dramatically and pulled out a sketchbook. "Do you all want to hear about the candy house?" Max clapped immediately. "Yes." She flipped to a hand-drawn picture of a gingerbread-style cottage and began narrating, "Once upon a time, in a forest made entirely of cotton candy, there stood a candy house with chocolate windows, jelly-bean fences, and marshmallow stairs. But one day, a witch moved in." As the story continued, every kid in the room leaned in like moths to a flame. Even the kids who couldn't speak clearly yet were mesmerized. Meanwhile, the barrage of comments online skyrocketed. "Wait, this isn't Hansel and Gretel. Is this original content? Where can I buy this candy house book?" Then came the bombshell. Max asked innocently, "Where did you hear this story?" And Lily, beaming with pride, said, "My daddy told it to me. He said it was written by his friend, Uncle Anderson." And there it was again. Anderson. The name that had been haunting me since yesterday. The name I'd been hiding under for years. "Uncle Anderson is a fairy tale genius," Lily continued. "He wrote Snow White, Thumbelina, The Ugly Duckling, Little Red Riding Hood, and a whole lot more." The class erupted in excitement. One by one, they begged for more. Lily, never one to disappoint an audience, launched into back-to-back fairy tales like a 5-year-old audiobook machine. The teachers gave up completely and just filmed the whole thing for educational purposes. The chat exploded again. "Why are these kids getting a live fairy tale festival? Someone please release an official Anderson fairy tale anthology. This is better than my Netflix subscription." By the time I picked Lily up after school, I noticed she had a laminated badge pinned to her chest that read, "Fairy Tale King Class Monitor." "Daddy, guess what? I told so many stories today, and the teacher said I'm amazing. Look, I even got a certificate," she chirped. Emily and I exchanged looks like proud parents watching our kid win a Grammy. But when I logged into StarNet that night, my smile froze. Anderson Fairy Tales was trending at 2 right under Lily the Candy House Queen. And below it were bootleg videos of Lily narrating story after story, racking up millions of views in hours. Then came the flood of comments on my author account. At Anderson Scott, please release an official collection. You owe us all a Candy House series. I'm crying real tears over Thumbelina. I looked at Emily, horrified. Honey, she leaked my fairy tale identity too. Emily nearly choked on her tea. Again. She pulled up the live stream replay, and we both watched Lily spin bedtime stories into gold. She even credited you as my imaginary friend Anderson, I said. That's cute but terrifying. The next day, while I was trying to write a new chapter of Ghost Blows Out the Light in Peace, the editor from North Peak Publishing called me in a frenzy. Ithano, Andersonu, Mr. Walker, your Once Upon a Time manuscript. It's blowing up. Orders just hit 2 million. The moms are going crazy. We need to print collector's editions now. I was speechless. I'd published the book quietly last month under Anderson Scott, with almost no marketing, just because Emily said it might help kids sleep better. But now, I was apparently in a publishing war against Robert Evans, aka the so-called fairy tale master, who had just released his new series Elf Forest. While Evans had major media backing and a $2 million promo budget, I had Lily. And Lily had single-handedly taken down the industry veteran without breaking a sweat. Comments across the internet read, Elf Forest who? We're reading Candy House Chronicles now. Every page of Once Upon a Time is a masterpiece. Please tell me Anderson is real. I need to believe. Meanwhile, editors from Summit Records and Echo Stream Music were all blowing up my phone begging me to release the original songs I used in the live stream. Especially, Listen to Mom, the track I'd casually played at the fan meeting. Ethan, you've hit top of the streaming charts overnight, one rep messaged me. Your voice. Your lyrics. The whole country's obsessed. I didn't even upload the track, I replied, bewildered. That was just me messing around at the piano. Turns out a fan recorded it, uploaded it, and it went viral in minutes. The top comment read, this song got my depression to log out. Tens of thousands of people were begging me to debut as a singer now. I was trending as 1 on the Hot 100, 2 on the Please Debut list, and 3 on the Ultimate Husband Goals hashtag. But while the whole world burned around me, I was sitting on the living room floor gluing googly eyes onto a banana dolphin for Lily's kindergarten craft homework. Dad, you're the best, she squealed as I carved an apple into a swan. Can you make a flower next? I pulled out another apple, turned it into a rose, and handed it to Emily, who giggled and kissed me on the cheek. The live stream chat watching this live exploded again. Is this couple even real? I swear Ethan Walker is AI generated at this point. Can I order a husband like this on Amazon? And just when I thought things couldn't get any more absurd, Lily pointed at a head of broccoli and asked, Daddy, what can we make from this? I paused. Soup. She giggled. No. Something cool. Like a poodle. I sighed, picked up the broccoli, and somehow managed to carve a shockingly accurate mini poodle sculpture out of it. The chat erupted into fireworks. Okay, that's it. I officially give up. Ethan Walker is too OP. He cooks. He sings. He writes fairy tales. He sculpts broccoli. He's not a husband's a cheat code. That night, after tucking Lily into bed, I stared at the dozens of trending notifications lighting up my phone. I should have felt overwhelmed. But instead, I smiled. All of this chaos, all of these exposures, all of the viral insanity, it was all sparked by one thing. Lily just wanted to crack a walnut and tell her friends some bedtime stories. That was it. And somehow, that was enough to change everything. The day after Lily's storytelling session broke the internet, our house felt like the quiet eye of a social media hurricane, calm on the surface but surrounded by trending hashtags, exploding DMs, and news outlets throwing around terms like "story queen," "viral dad," and "America's Anderson." I tried to ignore it all and keep life as normal as possible, but even the walk to kindergarten turned into a red carpet event. A group of parents waiting at the school gate turned their heads the moment Lily skipped past them, holding my hand, whispering things like, "That's him, that's Ethan Walker, the composer who carves poodles out of broccoli," and "That little girl told my son the story of Thumbelina and now he refuses to sleep without a bedtime tale from Uncle Anderson." I smiled politely, nodded like nothing was happening, and waved goodbye as Lily ran inside. She didn't seem fazed by the attention. In fact, she was thriving. In the classroom, she was already surrounded by a group of eager kindergartners hanging on her every word. She pulled out her sketchbook again and launched into yet another fairy tale, this one an off-the-cuff story about a lollipop princess who rode a gummy bear into battle against a broccoli dragon. I don't know where she gets this stuff. The teachers gave up entirely and let her story circle time take over the morning schedule. Meanwhile, the live stream chat was on fire again. Lily is back with a vengeance. We need to copyright Gummy Bear Wars ASAP. Anderson's blood runs strong in this one. That afternoon, I got a call from Summit Records asking if I could attend a fan event that Emily had been scheduled for but now apparently required both of us due to public demand. I reluctantly agreed, figuring it'd just be a few fans asking about Emily's upcoming album. I had no idea what I was walking into. When we arrived at the venue, there were banners that read, "Welcome Ethan Walker," and hundreds of fans holding signs that said things like, "Fairy Tale Dad," "Team Sue Dad," and "Drop the album, Ethan." I froze. "Honey, what is this?" Emily leaned in and whispered, "Babe, you're famous now. Just smile and pretend you're not internally screaming." She handed me a mic as fans flooded in, cameras everywhere, and someone shouted, "Mr. Walker, can you talk about your love story with Emily Carter?" I blinked. Well, love is like poop. When it hits you, you just can't hold it in." Dead silence. Then laughter erupted from every corner of the room. The chat went insane. "Who says that? Love is poop," confirmed. "Ethan Walker is a menace to romance but I love him anyway." Another fan raised a phone. "Mr. Walker, you're such a great songwriter. Could you sing something live for us?" I hesitated, but then a tiny voice shouted from the front row, "I want to hear, Because of Love." I squinted. A kid. 7 or 8 years old. I laughed. "You even know that song? What are you, an old soul?" But instead of that, I sat down at the grand piano and began to play something different, "Listen to Mom." As soon as the first notes hit, the room went still. I sang gently, the kind of soft, emotional vocals that sneak up on people. You could hear the sniffles before I was halfway through. Phones shot up to capture the moment, and by the time I finished, the whole room was clapping like they were at a concert. Someone shouted, "Sudad for Grammys." I got up, flushed from the unexpected applause, and looked at Emily, who just grinned and said, "That's my man." She walked up and kissed me on the cheek in front of everyone, and the live stream chat collectively fainted. "I can't watch this couple anymore, they're too sweet. I'm deleting Tinder, true love is real and I'm not in it. They better stop before I propose to myself." But while we were still in that sugar-high PDA bubble, a notification buzzed across my phone. Hot Search 1, Lily Walker. Hot Search 2, Anderson. Beneath those topics were dozens of video clips from Lily's classroom, her telling fairy tales, managing a candy economy, organizing crying toddlers like a little boss, and reciting made-up poems about marshmallow kings. My jaw dropped. "She leaked me again." Emily burst out laughing. "This time I think she nuked all your identities in one go." That night when we got home, Lily was glowing with pride. "Daddy. Mommy. I'm the class monitor now. They gave me a fairy tale king certificate. She shoved the laminated badge in my face. Also, guess what? All the kids want to come to our house because they think the candy house is real. I ruffled her hair. Well, we might need to build one now just to meet expectations. Meanwhile, sales numbers for Once Upon a Time exploded past 2 million, and moms across the country were forming Anderson book clubs. Online forums were comparing my fairy tale collection to Robert Evans's Elf Forest, and spoiler alert, I was winning. Someone posted a side-by-side of the books with the caption, one is factory-produced fantasy, the other is hand-carved storytelling magic. Under that, parents were going wild. My kids actually put down the iPad to read Anderson's book. The illustrations? Gorgeous. The language? Poetic. The stories? Instant classics. It got so bad that Once Upon a Time shot to 1 on every bestseller list while Elf Forest sat at 6. Robert Evans himself finally tweeted, Anderson, whoever you are, well played. Meanwhile, the editor from Shanghai Publishing called me and said, we want to send a limited edition hardcover to Anderson's house. Can you confirm his address? When he looked down at the author form, his face went pale. No way, he muttered. Ethan Walker. Thompson EP address. That's Sue Dad. Sue Dad is Anderson. He posted 5 fire emojis in a row on his feed and added, everything I believed about authors just shattered. Netizens went into a frenzy. Who's talking pig elbow? That's Ethan too. Who writes the top 10 parenting blogs anonymously? Also Ethan. Who ran a secret viral song account for 5 years? Yep, still Ethan. The number of vests I'd been using on the internet was officially out of control, and Lily had basically unzipped them all. But at that point, I'd stopped caring. Because my daughter's joy, my wife's smile, and our little chaotic life together were way better than any secret I could have kept. That night, we took Lily to an amusement park as a reward. She rode every ride twice, ate 2 cotton candies bigger than her head, and collapsed in the car on the way home. As we were about to stop by our usual skewer joint for dinner, Lily stirred in her sleep, opened her eyes, and pointed at a baby grand piano in the middle of the mall lobby. Daddy, can I play that? I looked at her with a smile. Of course. She slid off my arms, toddled over to the piano, climbed up the stool, and placed her tiny fingers on the keys. What she played wasn't your average nursery rhyme. It was the Mozart-arranged version of Twinkle, Twinkle Little Star, also known as the Little Gorilla Variations, a level 8 to 9 difficulty piece. The entire mall went silent. I stood there frozen, watching my daughter, me little fairy tale queen, play through the melody with pure focus and innocent joy, not caring who was watching. Emily teared up beside me, whispering, she's amazing. And all I could do was nod and think, yeah. She is. And she's mine. I thought the mall piano moment would just be a cute family memory, something we'd talk about over dinner and maybe bring up again when Lily turns 10, but of course, I forgot we were still on a live stream feed, and that anything remotely heartwarming involving a child and a piano gets turned into internet gold within minutes, especially when the child is my daughter and the dad is the guy who accidentally became a national sensation for writing fairy tales and sculpting broccoli dogs. The clip of Lily playing the Mozart variation of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star hit the Starnet trending page before our kebabs even arrived at the table. Comments poured in like a tidal wave. Who taught her this piece? She's 5. That's not Twinkle, that's full-on conservatory-level performance. Okay, but can we talk about how casually she climbed up and nailed it like she was opening for Yo-Yo Ma? And of course, because nothing is ever subtle on the internet, the hashtags began stacking: Lily Mozart, Sue Dad Genius Training Camp, Candy House Prodigy. I glanced at my phone in disbelief, took a bite of grilled shrimp, and muttered, I just wanted dinner. Emily chuckled, completely unfazed, then leaned across the table and whispered, Babe, you realize she just out-viraled you again, right? Lily, who was busily dipping French fries in 3 different sauces at once, looked up and chirped, "Is everyone talking about my song?" "Yes, sweetheart," I sighed, "everyone in the country." The next morning, I woke up to find my inbox obliterated. Music academies were reaching out, parenting magazines wanted interviews, streaming platforms wanted exclusive content deals, and someone even sent a pitch for a documentary called The Making of a Fairy Tale Family. I didn't even know documentaries came with pitch decks. Even weirder, an email from a startup toy company offered to license the term Candy House and collaborate with us to create a branded line of DIY craft kits, fruit carving tools, and edible glitter. "We believe Lily and Mr. Walker embody the future of educational family entertainment," the email gushed, "and we'd love to build the Candy House universe together." I was halfway through rereading that absurd message when Lily popped up beside me and asked, "Daddy, can we make a dolphin out of a sweet potato today?" I blinked. "Lily, I think you accidentally started an entire empire." "Can I ride it?" she asked innocently. "The dolphin?" "No, the empire," she giggled. I gave her a look, and she ran off cackling. Meanwhile, the clip of her mall performance had reached international audiences. Classical music bloggers began analyzing her posture, hand technique, and timing. One conservatory in Vienna literally posted, "We would like to offer this young maestro a scholarship. Age is but a number. Genius is eternal." And while all this madness continued to spiral, Emily and I tried desperately to keep life normal. I still did school drop-off and pick-up. I still wrote chapters for Ghost Blows Out the Light late at night. I still made dinner, carved fruit animals when asked, and told bedtime stories that accidentally went viral when Lily retold them in class. But now there was no normal, not really. Not when every time I opened my phone I saw my own face photoshopped onto a cartoon superhero titled, Dad of the Year. Not when I walked past a bookstore and saw an entire window display of Once Upon a Time with a cardboard cutout of Anderson Scott, that looked suspiciously like me. And definitely not when EchoStream Music called and said, "Ethan, you're charting internationally. Listen to Mom," just overtook 3 major K-pop singles. "We need you to perform it live." "I'm not a singer," I replied for the 100th time. "You literally are," the rep groaned, "you just refuse to admit it." But even with all the noise, my favorite part of the day was still coming home to Lily's laughter and Emily's warm hug in the kitchen. That night, Lily and I worked on another kindergarten project together. This time we had to build a vegetable-based sculpture representing our dream animal. She wanted a unicorn. I stared at our supplies: 1 cucumber, 3 carrots, half a head of cabbage, and a lone tomato. "This might be tough," I muttered. "We can do it, Daddy." "You're magic," Lily said with that look that somehow both melted and destroyed me at the same time. I sighed, cracked my knuckles, and got to work. 30 minutes later, we had a surprisingly majestic cabbage unicorn hybrid standing proud on a paper plate. Emily took a picture. The chat exploded again. "This is not a drill. Sudad just made a unicorn out of salad. Give him a cooking show. Give him a parenting show. Give him a crown." And then came the curveball. Summit Records called and said they'd like me to host a guest segment on a new family variety show titled Dad's Kitchen, featuring celebrity dads cooking, crafting, and storytelling. "It's light, fun, wholesome, exactly your brand," they said. "I don't have a brand," I protested. "You are the brand," they replied. Emily practically shoved me toward the idea. "You love cooking. You love telling stories. Just try it. If it sucks, you walk." So I agreed to shoot a pilot. We filmed in our kitchen, with me cooking my signature beef stew while Lily colored in a corner and Emily helped plate side dishes. I told a short original fairy tale called The Onion Knight, who cried every time he battled evil, but his tears healed everyone around him. The chat lost its mind. I came for the food, stayed for the feels. I didn't know a stew could be therapy. The Onion Knight needs his own animated movie. Within a day, the pilot aired as a surprise segment online, and it trended in under 3 hours. Dad's Kitchen was officially greenlit. I was a reality host now. Apparently. I told Emily, I was a ghostwriter. A composer. I just wanted to make lunch and take naps. She smiled and said, "And now you're everyone's dream husband. Congratulations." Meanwhile, Lily was now being called America's Story Queen. One of the top children's publishers reached out asking if she wanted to co-author a series of picture books retelling Anderson Scott's stories from a child's perspective. They even proposed a mini book tour with plushies and sing-alongs. "I'm 5, Lily replied, "I don't even know how to spell tour." I was simultaneously proud and panicking. Was this what being a dad was now? Accidentally raising a pop culture icon? That weekend, we went on a quiet family picnic to try and escape the noise. Just a day in the park with sandwiches and sunshine. But of course, halfway through our meal, a high school marching band practicing nearby recognized us and spontaneously started playing Listen to Mom in unison. Lily jumped up and clapped. "Daddy, they know your song." Emily shook her head, laughing. "This is our life now, huh?" I sighed, lifted Lily into my arms, and whispered, "Guess so." And somewhere between that moment and the next notification buzz, I realized something: maybe I didn't need to run from the spotlight anymore. Maybe I just had to redefine it on my terms. Because if being Ethan Walker meant carving apples into roses by day, dropping surprise hit songs by night, and raising the next fairy tale icon in between, then yeah, I'd take it. Just please, someone tell me when I'm allowed to nap again. After Dad's Kitchen went live nationwide, everything in our world shifted again, like someone hit the fast-forward button on my salted fish life and cranked the saturation to max. What started as a casual home video of me making beef stew while telling a fairy tale now had a full-blown production crew setting up cameras in my living room 3 days a week, turning my kitchen into a mini studio with lighting rigs, mic booms, and a director who wore all black and said "action" like he was shooting The Godfather. And yet somehow, even with the chaos, Lily still managed to steal the spotlight every single time she walked into frame, whether she was balancing an onion on her head or giving serious commentary like, "Daddy's soup tastes like feelings." The audience adored her, and I couldn't blame them. I did too. And Emily? She became the unofficial co-host, effortlessly floating between cutting vegetables and teasing me on air like we were the romantic subplot of a cooking drama, and viewers couldn't get enough of us. Every episode's comment section was packed with, "I'd pay for marriage advice from this couple, sue Dad and Emily supremacy, just adopt me already," and I wish I could say it didn't get to my head, but come on, who wouldn't feel a little invincible when moms nationwide were forming fan clubs called the Spoon Wives, literally naming themselves after the way I stirred soup? And yet through all the noise and trending hashtags, our family stayed weirdly grounded thanks to Lily, who continued living her best 5-year-old life as if none of this was unusual, like it was totally normal to have her school principal ask for a signed copy of Once Upon a Time, or to walk into a bookstore and find a cardboard cutout of herself holding a plush candy house character. And one afternoon she casually came home from school and said, "Daddy, they want me to go on tour," and I choked on my coffee. "Tour?" I asked, trying to process it like a rational adult. "What do you mean tour?" And she shrugged. "The book one, with singing and stickers and cupcakes," and apparently a publisher had pitched a nationwide Story Queen tour featuring Lily telling stories live with a picture book signing and a sing-along segment, plus bonus fruit carving demos from yours truly, which somehow made it into the contract without my knowledge. And just when I thought the madness had peaked, our team dropped the first preview trailer for the tour and it broke 500,000 views in 12 hours. The Candy House jingle I composed as a joke became an actual ringtone, and Lily was now listed on Starnet's trending youth influencer list next to teen pop idols and talking dog accounts. And it should have been great. It was great, but that's when the twist hit, like a slap in the middle of a dream, because the day before our first live event in New York, we received a formal challenge from none other than Robert Evans himself, the so-called fairy tale master I had unintentionally dethroned, and I'm not kidding, launched a rival tour called The Elf Forest Live Experience, with a tagline that read, "Return to real fairy tales, not candy fluff," and yeah, I saw that shade, even if it was dressed up in market-friendly language, and the press immediately latched onto the drama, with headlines like, "Candy House vs. Elf Forest, The Battle for America's Children," and "Anderson Scott's Secret Identity Now Faces a Public Reckoning," and I'll be honest, part of me was like, whatever, let him throw tantrums, but Emily knew better. She pulled me aside that night after Lily went to bed and said, "Ethan, this is more than competition, this is going to get ugly if we're not careful," and she was right, because next thing we knew, anonymous blog posts started surfacing online questioning my credentials, accusing me of stealing stories, implying Anderson was a fabrication, and worst of all, casting doubt on Lily's talent, saying things like, "No 5-year-old plays Mozart variations without heavy coaching or ghost assistance," and that's when I got pissed, because I can take hits, mock me all you want, I've been a ghost composer for years, but you don't go after my daughter, and Emily felt the same. Her publicist even wanted to issue a statement. But I stopped her, because if there's one thing I learned from this whole whirlwind, it's that truth always reveals itself, especially when your 5-year-old has better instincts than most adults, so we let it play out. We showed up to the First Story Queen tour stop in New York with zero press gimmicks and no extra drama, just Lily, me, and a suitcase full of picture books and fruit carving tools, and the moment she stepped onto that stage and greeted the crowd with, "Hi. I brought 3 stories and a banana dolphin," the auditorium melted, kids screamed, parents laughed, and I realized this wasn't about me anymore, this was Lily's stage now, and she handled it like she'd been born for it, pausing during Little Red Riding Hood, to ask if wolves could eat donuts instead of grandmas, and cracking a joke mid-song that made the whole front row giggle, and when she handed me the mic and said, "Daddy, tell them the story about the broccoli night," I nearly teared up, because that was a story I made up when she had a fever at age 3, and somehow she remembered it, so I told it, right there on stage, and it wasn't flashy or poetic or complicated, but it was ours, and that made it magic. And after the show, as we signed books and hugged kids and posed for what felt like a million selfies, I saw a man standing in the back of the crowd, arms folded, dressed in designer neutrals, staring at us with a cold smile, and yeah, it was Robert Evans. In person, no assistant, no entourage, just standing there like a Bond villain, and part of me wanted to confront him, say something clever or sarcastic or biting, but I didn't, because Lily ran up and wrapped her arms around my leg and said, "Daddy, that was the best day ever," and in that moment, I remembered what really mattered. It wasn't awards or rankings or industry beefs, it was this simple joy of sharing a story with someone you love, and if Robert didn't get that, then honestly, he'd already lost. It wasn't until the 3rd stop of the Story Queen Tour, Chicago, rainy, packed to the ceiling with parents, influencers, and media people pretending to be neutral, that the real showdown happened, because as much as I tried to avoid giving Robert Evans the drama he seemed to crave, he'd finally forced my hand by doing the one thing I didn't think even he would stoop to, launching a copyright complaint against Once Upon a Time, and claiming that Anderson Scott had borrowed liberally from Elf Forest concepts, and while it didn't halt our tour entirely, it did freeze our next book shipment, cancelled a few licensing deals, and put a spotlight on me I was done pretending to enjoy, and to make it worse, it was right after our Chicago show when Lily, exhausted and sticky with icing from 3 different cupcakes, tugged on my sleeve and asked, "Daddy, am I in trouble for telling fairy tales?" And that broke me more than any email from a lawyer ever could, because I had built this whole secret career under aliases not just to protect myself, but to protect my family from exactly this public garbage dressed as professionalism, bitterness wrapped in contracts, and now here it was, leaking into Lily's world, so I pulled her into my lap backstage, looked her straight in the eyes, and said, "No baby, telling stories is never wrong, and you didn't do anything but make the world better." And she gave me a sleepy nod and curled up against my chest, and I thought, screw this, it's time. So that night I went home, stayed up until 3 a.m., and wrote a post on Starnet titled, "Dear Robert Evans, let me tell you a story," and I didn't rant, didn't accuse, didn't even shade him, I just told the full truth, from my years ghostwriting under contract for major artists, including a few fairy tales that were polished, rewritten, and published under other names with my blessing. To the day I created the Anderson Scott alias to escape the pressure of being a content machine and finally write stories for my daughter, not for a boardroom, and how those stories were hers first, bedtime tales whispered over hot cocoa and warm blankets, and I ended it with, if you think this tour is a business stunt, you're wrong. It's a thank you letter to the child who reminded me why I loved storytelling in the first place, and then I logged off and went to sleep like a man who didn't care what happened next, because I'd said what I needed to say. But the next morning, everything exploded in a way I didn't expect. Robert Evans posted a reply, a full-blown apology, which included the line, "I let envy get the better of me," and somewhere along the way I forgot that stories are for sharing, not competing, and I sat there blinking at the screen as the internet went from civil war to national hugfest in under 24 hours, fan groups merged, Story Dad trended. Someone made a remix of Lily's Candy House jingle mashed up with Evans's Elf Forest theme and called it Cinnamon Trees, and I just breathed for once. No spinning plates, no fire to put out, just peace, which turned out to be perfect timing because the final tour stop in Los Angeles was shaping up to be the biggest one yet, with over 1,000 attendees, half of them kids in cardboard candy house costumes, waving glittery roses and banana dolphin plushies, and Lily was absolutely glowing, bouncing on the balls of her feet backstage, rehearsing her thank you speech for the 100th time, while I stood beside her holding a carrot swan centerpiece. And Emily laughed at both of us, and when the curtain rose and the lights hit, we stepped into something bigger than a book tour. It felt like a movement, a celebration of creativity, of storytelling, of parenthood, and somehow also of fruit carving, and Lily walked to the mic with that confident sparkle in her eye and said, "I want to thank my dad for always telling me stories, even when he was tired, even when he burned the toast, and even when he said, 'This is the last one,' but then told two more, and the crowd cheered." I definitely teared up, and after the show, after the hugs, autographs, and final Apple Owl demo, we packed up the car and drove home in comfortable silence, just the three of us, headlights slicing through the dark, and Lily fell asleep in the back holding her fairy tale queen sash like a teddy bear, and Emily leaned her head on my shoulder at a red light and whispered, "You did it." And I shook my head and whispered back, "No, we did." Because the truth is, none of this happened because I planned it, none of it was some master PR strategy, it was just our life, messy, funny, full of glitter glue and piano keys and absurd online moments. And yeah, I was still the guy who carved unicorns out of apples and forgot to buy dishwasher soap half the time, but I was also a dad who found his voice again through bedtime stories, a husband who watched his wife shine brighter than ever, and a man who accidentally created a fairy tale empire while trying to make soup. And maybe that's the best kind of ending, not a perfect one, but one that feels like home. And as we pulled into the driveway, I glanced back at Lily, still fast asleep, and smiled, because if one day she wakes up and asks how the candy house all began, I'll say, with a walnut and a little girl who cracked it open using her dad's trophy, and also cracked open the world with her laugh.